They say knowledge is power, but anything worth having will have some obstacles involved. On your road to wisdom, there are four enemies you will encounter. Today, we're talking about the four enemies to knowledge. Hey, what is up, everybody? Road to Recovery with Ross. I am Ross Cessna from Spiritual Phoenix Studios, bringing you some practical spiritual guidance. And today we are talking about the four enemies. The four enemies comes from Carlos Castaneda's work. If you're not familiar with Castaneda, he is a very contentious character in these circles. I personally have found a lot of wisdom and understanding from his work. A lot of people have discredited him from some questionable things in his work. But if you can separate the wheat from the chaff, you will find a good roadmap to personal development. And anyhow, we're going to get into the four enemies on the path to knowledge. So the very first enemy you will encounter on the path to knowledge is fear. And why is fear there? Because honestly, fear will keep you paralyzed. And when you begin to look at a different way to relate to life, a different way to relate to yourself, new information, it can be scary because it will challenge literally everything that you thought you knew, and it will put the world in a different perspective for you. And if having your complete reality dissolved isn't terrifying enough for you, I really don't know what is. It's one of the most destabilizing things you can do. But anyhow, after that, you transition to clarity being the next enemy. Enemy number 2, clarity. And why is clarity an enemy, you would say? Because if you think that you see everything clearly, there's no room for improvement, no room to learn new information. And if you always think that you're right, how can you grow? That's a big point of stagnation for many people. And a lot of people honestly get hung up there. A lot of times in these new age circles, you hear people say that they're woke or this, that, or the other. And literally they've stopped growing or evolving past their current belief structure at that point because they know everything. And in my personal experience, this is an ever-evolving road that will constantly have you questioning your beliefs and looking back on everything and honestly asking yourself, am I seeing this clearly? And then looking for the best information. In truth, you can't see the forest from the trees. You need some outside perspective to help you see things clearly. And then after you can begin to understand that, you transition to the next enemy. Third enemy is power. And why is power an enemy, you would say? Because knowledge is only power if you put it into action or if you do something with it, right? And when you have knowledge and you begin to use it, you can use it for the power to harm, the power to heal, or the power to inform and let people make their own choices. Now, when a lot of people begin to restrict access to knowledge, that is an unhealthy and harmful form of power. When people begin to use that power to help other people and inform them and give them the ability to make their own choices, that is beneficial. But there's that whole saying, power corrupts, absolute power ultimately corrupts. It's not necessarily a given, but you really, really have to temper yourself and have some spiritual principles and some perspective to make sure that you're making wise choices. And you have to rely back on that clarity to see that maybe you're not seeing things clearly. And then finally, we transition into the last enemy. And this is one of the ones that I thought was a permanent enemy that will always hold you up. But my perception of this has shifted recently, and I think I see it in a different light. And it is old age. Now, originally, I thought old age was an enemy because you die, right? Old age always wins, is what I told myself. But the new perspective that I have on the old age tip of this is old age is an enemy because most people feel old. They don't keep the youthful spirit because life is changing. There's a lot of loss when you're older. Everybody that like a lot of your friends are passing. The world's completely different. Your body's wearing down. Health issues. Like life is completely different. But the way that I perceive this as an enemy is if you let it affect your spirit and how you show up. Now, you've seen that old person that has more youth and vitality than people our age, right? My grandpa, he went to the gym every day at one point when I was like 20, 25, 30. I was like, Grandpa, you exercise more than me. Which I didn't exercise. Anyhow, I'm going off on a tangent. But then you also see people that are like 30 or 40 that are older than old people. Old age is a state of stagnation and mentality if you let it become one. And that's how it becomes an enemy of knowledge. And the last way old age becomes an enemy of knowledge is this. In recovery programs, they say clean time does not equal recovery. Old age doesn't equal wisdom. Some people think they know some stuff just because they're older, and that's not necessarily the case. And it goes back to clarity and all this stuff. But anyhow, I really think that these are really useful tools and guideposts to help you understand where you're at on your own personal journey and to allow you to move forward. So thank you for checking this out. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you are on Facebook, like the video, share it with people. I would love to hear your comments on it. And if you have any other topics you'd like to hear me talk about, drop it in the comments below. Thank you so much.